Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day. Hey listen, today I'm very excited because I got a great guest. Listen, believe me, you're not gonna wanna miss this interview. I have Mr. Richard Schulman, great friend of mine, who at one point in his career, listen to this, at one point in his career, he was the #2 real estate agent in the country. Yeah, in the country. He's gonna share with us today the realities of the real estate industry for new agents, how to build long-term wealth, joining a real estate team if you think that's good for you, and his brand new course that he just created with us, U.S. Realty Training, that shows you the blueprint. Listen, we're gonna give you the blueprint that you need to follow to be the top agent in your area. You don't wanna miss this one. I guarantee it, you're gonna love it. Do yourself a favor and watch it.
I talked to one of my new agents today, and we talked about prospecting. The idea was basically you have to sit and prospect for 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a really high level to build a pipeline to the point where people are going to call you to do deals. Right. And well, they'll always call you, hopefully, but to call you to do deals to the level where you can be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually answering more calls than I'm making. For me, that took almost 8, 9, 10 years before I was really getting a large enough volume of inbound calls to be like, oh, this is my business now, is that people are calling me. And he had this like great revelation. He's like, that's why some people quit. Like it's hard to make these calls day in, day out. But he saw the vision of like, he's a year and a half in now. So he's like, somewhere between a third and halfway through his like apprenticeship into the business. But he buys into the idea that he has to go and make phone calls and, he's like, oh, I'm calling people, they might buy a house next year. Great, like that's the pipeline for next year. You do that for enough time, now you have a pipeline that's gonna work, that's gonna always be full and calling you back for deals.
What makes it so hard to prospect? Why does he think it's so hard to prospect? Why does he find it difficult?
Well, he doesn't find it difficult necessarily. He identifies what other people do.
Got it.
And the answer is it sucks. It's not fun, right? It's not fun to, let's do some math, right? So if you're a new agent, I'll give you an example. So I had a guy come to me, and we're not really keen on hiring brand new agents because it's just a long ramp up period, and sometimes they just discover after 6 months they don't like the job. So we don't like to hire brand new agents, although we do. This guy comes to me, he's brand new, but he's good. He's got sales experience, professional. I'm like, this guy could actually do it. So I tell him, I say, listen, we're gonna bring you on. And he was really excited because he was like, I wanna join the team, I wanna work here. I said, you gotta make 5,000 phone calls. And I could just hear over the phone, like a cartoon, his jaw just like dropped to the floor. And I said, it sounds like a lot. Let me break that down for you. There's 22 work days in a month on average, right? Monday through Friday, about 22. So it's 44. So you have to make, let's just call it about 100 dials a day. And using some of our dialing software, you can do that in, let's say, really 2 hours, but let's just say 3 hours. So I said, well, don't worry about it. I said, it's not really 5,000 calls. You have to prospect by phone for 3 hours a day for the next 2 months. And if that goes well, then we'll go to step 2. It's really, you have to do that for the next 4 years. But I'm like, I just want to set a firm line in the sand that first 2 months, you got to walk out of the first 2 months with 5,000 dials under your belt. And I explained it to him clearly like this, and he just couldn't, I could just hear over the phone, it's just not clicking. And I'm like, this is the expectation day in, day out, that you make 50 to 100 dials every day for your whole career. And he couldn't get over it, and he said, I'll call you back. And I said, it's okay, it's not, it's a pass for me too. And a week later, he emailed me and told me he found another team to work for. Team that's not gonna make him make phone calls, I guess. So we'll do another video in 6 months. We'll talk about what his job is now, but it's not gonna be in real estate.
Right, so let's talk about prospecting then, since we're on that theme. So prospecting, you think it's the foundation of a new realtor? I mean, that should be the foundation?
I mean, it's like understatement, yes, but it's the only thing. Right? If you're on a team or at a real brokerage, you have mentorship support. The actual practice of real estate is going to be mostly done by your mentor, your superior broker, your team, right? And if you don't have that, you're not in the right spot. I have, just today, I talked to 2 agents of mine who were over a year in the business with, a dozen, let's say, closings each, and they both made mistakes in process. It's not going to hurt the client, it'll hurt their chances of getting paid. And they didn't call me, and I said, I don't care that you've done this for a year. You have to call me to go over step by step. I can't teach them every nuance of what to do, but I can teach them every nuance of how to prospect. So I need them to master prospecting, and then over time you'll learn all the nuance from your broker or from doing dozens and dozens of deals. Prospecting is the only thing that you have to worry about in real estate.
Well, let's talk about prospecting for a minute, because I'd like to make a point and see how you feel about it. Prospecting is important. Practical thing, not a big deal, I dig it. But how about effective prospecting? You were just giving me an example of that one new realtor who doesn't want to make 50 to 100 calls a day.
Yeah.
Let's assume they do, and
Yeah.
they strike out, strike out, strike out. Just like a baseball player, if he's got a bad swing and he continues to strike out, eventually he's got to make adjustments, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody was just making phone calls, striking out, I would assume they'd get, sick and tired of making the prospecting calls. So what makes an efficient prospecting call? When did they start liking it and saying, damn, I got potential here. I can make a deal out of this.
Well, so first of all, I'll tell you that when I started in real estate, there wasn't really training like this. There was no video training. There was, in-person training. It was really not a thing. It just wasn't as an industry standard. There wasn't like a training protocol for real estate. So I learned all this stuff myself. Everything we're talking about in the videos is stuff I learned the hard way, right? That's why it took me a longer time to get to success than I'm telling people they can get to now. You have to iterate, right? That means you have to, so I call you, I say, hey, do you want to buy a house, right? And you say no, and I say, okay, that's a bad script, let me use a better script, right? Or you get the same objection and you try different closes and you're like, okay, well that close worked better.
So there's a technique to this stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
So you can watch all the videos we just produced and you can learn a lot of those scripts and apply them, and then you can say, oh, well, my cadence or tone wasn't great there. You know what? I had bad results today, and what I'm realizing is I had bad results is I didn't have a really good energy today. Or I made phone calls today, I was sitting down and it was too noisy for me to focus, right? I'm gonna make my phone calls standing up or pacing today. Or I made phone calls at 6 p.m. and that's a bad time, I'm gonna try noon tomorrow. You have to figure out what works for you, what works for your market, right? And then you can get better over time.
So what do you do with all these prospects? Where do you put them? How do you, in a folder? How do you do this?
Yeah, well, an electronic folder, but there's incredible software out there now that you can go through and, we can see, Robert Rico, hey, no one's texted you for 46 days. We got to text you and say, hi, here's some value to add to your experience with our team and our business in real estate. Here's some information about the home that you bought with us, and then we can get in front of you again.
Damn, so that's a good database program,
Yeah.
I guess?
Yeah, and there's lots of those. We don't endorse one officially, but there's plenty of database softwares that will allow you to track all these things. And, you don't have to write down, you don't have to manually keep track of this stuff anymore.
Hey, let's talk about mindsets, Rich. How important is a mindset? Now, the new realtor that you spoke with, his mindset was like, hell, I ain't doing this. I'm not making all these calls. He was checking out already and got a new team, or wherever the hell he's working at.
Yeah. I love that he's the star of our show.
Well,
now.
I just want to give the example of, does it really matter where you work, right? Isn't it all up here? Doesn't it start up here?
Yeah, look, he can correct that mindset, right? Maybe after a month he realizes it's not working, he has to change something. But I think internally you have to have the desire to succeed, and you have to have the sense that you are willing to do what it takes to do this. Now here's the crazy thing, right? This is a guy who works a professional sales job now and has other past experience. I always tell people, at your real job, what did you do, right? Before you worked as a real estate agent, what were you doing, right? If you have a real job, right? If you're a waiter, let's say, right? You can't, and the job is you're gonna wait tables for 8 hours. You can't say, oh, well, I'm busy today, or I don't really feel like waiting table. You'll get fired, or you won't get good tips, and then you'll get fired, right? So, with real estate, we think real estate's flexible, and then we treat flexible as not working, right? We need to treat real estate as flexible, that we can do the work we want to, but it still has to get done. So what's the mindset approach? I think real estate agents, especially new ones, think flexible and they forget this is a real job. When I first started, I didn't know what to do it with myself every day because there's no training, like I mentioned. I went into my manager's office and she said, treat it like a real job, you gotta work 40 hours a week. It was actually kind of like a big moment for me. I was like, oh, I just kind of did whatever floated by. She said, no, you gotta treat it like a real job. And so then I started coming to the office at 8:30 in the morning and working all day, and then office in the morning, showings in the afternoon type of situation. But people have this wrong mindset. So first you have to get past that mindset that if you are flexible with your job to the point that you're not prospecting, you're going to fail. People also have a poor mindset about lying to themselves if they're prospecting or not. So it's important that people realize that they really have to get those, whatever that goal is that they set, but they have to make something like 50 to 100 dials a day most likely. They have to make 20 to 30 live voice contacts a day as part of those calls. They have to make 2 appointments a day to hit their goals. And if they think they can do it without that, that's a bad mindset. It's not going to work. One of the things hopefully you find out in this video series is that these are the things that work, and they're fairly predictable, that the people who do them succeed. This guy that we mentioned, this poor guy who's now the subject of our story here, he's not going to succeed in real estate unless he has a mindset shift. What happened is I told him the reality. The reality is he has to make 5,000 dials, and he's not going to do that. And he's going to go to a team that will allow him to believe he can succeed without doing that, and he'll ultimately either fail, most likely, or hopefully for him, he'll realize before it's too late that it's not a pathway to success.
Hey, you brought up teams.
Yeah.
Are they beneficial for a new agent?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm super biased, right? I run a team, and my team's dependent on, finding
Let's go back to when you first started. When you
Yeah.
first started real estate, did you join a team?
So there weren't teams when I first started. I feel like I'm one of these like old people now that's like, no, there weren't teams. I was at a major brand, and it was their number 2 office in the system. It was a major office, and big producers, 2004. And one guy there had an assistant and 2 buyer's agents, and that was like a special accommodation. All the other guys there who were big producers, they were the big guys and women in the neighborhood, the farming agents, the big producing agents. A lot of them would, like the big ones, other than that guy, would share an assistant, right? They would maybe have like a part-time, or like they would have a part-time assistant, and that was it. And now it's different. Now it's everyone's a team. Right now we're carrying 7 full-time employees on our team to support about 15 agents or so. So I've got 1 full-time employee for every 2 agents. That's 1,000 labor hours annually per sales agent that I have available. That's a big difference. So teams are really a really good thing for agents to look at if they're new. They have to remember a brokerage is not going to solve their problems, right? Any brokerage is not going to hold your hand and walk you for 6 months to a year of sales, because the way the market has gone, the money a brokerage earns from your sales is so minimal they can't invest the kind of time that you as a new agent need with you.
Can you make it as a new agent on your own without a team? Because that's what I did. I'd never considered a team.
I think yes you can, but if you're looking at the people I know who are new, who made it as new agents, are individually exceptional people. And
Let's
it's not to say that you are not,
what do you mean?
or that you are not,
Yeah.
but it's to say that your chance of success is not as good otherwise. Your chance of success with a team is dramatically higher than individually.
Right. So what makes you exceptional? Let's go there. That's important. Everybody wants to be exceptional, right? My dad used to say, "No seas uno de los montones," meaning don't be one of the people on the mountain, right? One of the batch. So what does one do to not be, a run-of-the-mill average realtor, man? They want to be exceptional. I consider myself exceptional. I got addicted to real estate, Rich. When I got my license, I couldn't stop it. I was like,
that's mindset right there.
Okay.
If you feel that, I remember I was doing well, and I was, 40 hours a week became nothing. I was doing 80 hours a week. But I loved what I was doing. I was addicted also to it wasn't the money, although the money was not bad. It was the thrill of the hunt for me.
Right.
I remember I would just at night, I would be stuffing envelopes and like sealing envelopes, mailers, every night on weekdays. And I would be like trying to see if my record was 7 different clients I showed property to on one Sunday, and I'd constantly be trying to get to 7 and break 7. That's the mindset thing. So you have to have that level of passion. So your question was, what does it take to be exceptional?
Right.
Look, at the beginning of the day, you have to be prospecting focused, learning based, right? So this is a great video series. This was a video series that we made together, but in my mind, this was a video I always wanted to make as something to have for my team, so that when someone joined my team, they could learn this and master it. And I don't mean master it like I'm gonna go binge 10 one-hour episodes of season 1 of how to be a real estate agent and try to succeed. I'm gonna actually learn what I'm doing. And this is a year at least. This is day in, day out, 30 minutes of something at this level of learning it, applying it to what you're doing, correcting a small mistake that you made before, and then doing it again. So exceptional, the people who make 100 dials a day or 200 dials a day, I know a really big name agent, and he said to join his team, you need to make 1,000 dials in a single day. And we tried it. We got a guy to like 800 something one time, and that was like we thought that was like the physical limit of what a person could do. But he made 800 dials in one day. We had a guy make 85 contacts in one day. You have to be able to do that level of work but every day, not once, every day, day in, day out. You have to be able to stop 3 hours of phone calls, which is really hard, and you have to then do 30 minutes of training and figure out what little mistake you made. Because if you make 100 dials a day, 220 days a year or something like that, you're gonna make 22,000 dials this year, right? Can you make them 1% better by studying this video, upgrading a script, correcting something that you're doing that's not optimal? Right. So that's what it takes to be exceptional.
So it's not just the quantity of the calls, man, it's the quality of the call. And that's what I think this video is gonna help, people who are just getting into this business, how to make a quality call.
It's both. Right. You have to do it in quantity. Because the only way to learn how to do it is to take this class, right? Take a class from here, and then go apply it to 1,000 phone calls and figure out what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong. There's like some story they tell in business school or one of these schools, and they say, oh, well, there was a pottery class, right? And there was one group had to make the most number of pieces of pottery, and one group had to make the best, right? And which group do you think made the best pottery? The people who are being graded only by the volume of pottery they made or by the quality of pottery they made?
The quantity.
Right, it was the quantity because they made 20 pots and those came out best. And the people who made one only had experience making one, and you had a limit of what you could create. Yeah. So you have to go make the quality of phone calls or the quantity of phone calls before you get to the quality.
Yeah. So most people get in this business for one of three reasons. One, they want to make a lot more money. Two, they're sick and tired of their job and they want a new career. And three, they want to help people. Yeah. Right? How do you put all those three together into your long-term goals? How do you even do it?
Well, I mean, these all are predicates to your goals, right? So I think the first one, the most important was you want to have the idea that you want to help people. And look, it could be helping people buy their first home, and it could be, helping people buy their fifth home. It doesn't really matter, but it's a service industry job. So if you're not comfortable being service focused, right, you're not going to succeed. And this is a grinding job, right? This is not like a one-time interaction. This is, I meet you today and I grovel for your business and I solve all your problems and I take your phone call Saturday night and I take your text message Tuesday at 6 a.m. and eventually I sell you a house, right? Or hopefully I sell you a house. So you have to have that servant mindset to help people, to make everything else easier. Otherwise it's really hard, right? So how does it tie into your goals? Well, you're not gonna hit your goals if you don't have these thoughts, right? The other two are very obvious. I think they're very linear. It's like, you wanna make more money? Okay, well, generally most people who succeed in real estate sales career are upgrading their income, right? That's sort of obvious. And a lot of people don't like the idea of a 9 to 5, and like we talked about before, you're not replacing a 9 to 5, you're still going to be there working somewhat regular hours. You have more flexibility, you have control over what you do. If you're good at what you do, I can say, you know what, Robert, I don't really enjoy working with you. I'm gonna refer you to a friend, right? I really wanna choose who I work with. I wanna choose what I do. And you have that in this career field where if you're working for someone else, you don't have that. Now that's the goal, right? You said, what's the goal? It's not day one, you're not like deciding who to work for. I tell my new agents all the time, I have this hard client, this client's mean to me, this client's really difficult, and he said he wants this, I found him this, and he doesn't want that anymore. So okay, prospect until you get really good, and then you can decide not to work with those clients. But I did that, now I give you that client to work for. Now you work with that client and solve that problem, and when you get good enough, then you can refer that client to someone else.
Yeah, most of our prospects, of course, are strangers. When you started your real estate career, how did you get past that, being so nervous in front of a stranger? I mean, first of all, it's a new career. You got a new person who doesn't know anything about you. How'd you cross that threshold of, hey, I'm comfortable as hell now?
I never really thought about it in a weird way. I think if that's one of your questions, this is like, maybe this is not the right role for you.
But somebody who's a little apprehensive, right? They're not quite yet a people person. Well, now you and I both know this is a people business.
Look, it all goes back to the phone. You want to get used to, you want to desensitize yourself to human contact, then you need to make a lot of phone calls.
Got it.
Because if you're at an open house and maybe 15 people come into the open house, right? You're at you're door knocking, whatever it is, you're meeting people, it's low frequency, right? Maybe you door knock 30 homes in an hour and 8 people open the door. I can call 100 people in an hour and maybe 12 people answer the phone. It's significantly more. And you can talk to a larger volume of people, and over time you sort of get desensitized to someone telling you, something inappropriate, right? Someone telling you not to call them anymore, or being rude to you.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about mistakes that new realtors usually make.
Yeah.
You've seen, you got a team.
Yeah.
How many people on your team again?
About 20.
Damn,
22.
That's a pretty big team. What are the common mistakes you see from your team members?
From the newer agents?
Newer agents.
Look, it's the simple stuff, right? You're not going to be surprised. It's lack of volume of prospecting, lack of thoroughness in prospecting, lack of focus in training, right? Expending energy in training. And I think number 4 would be not seeking help, thinking that they can do it on their own. Like, the point of the team is to help them, right? My job is to help them succeed. But the first 3 anyone can replicate. And it's not to say that they're bad at it, it's just that the standard is very high. Because I know what I did and where I got to. I know where my top agents, what they did. And so I hold everyone accountable to the standard of the best person that did it. Because I know it's possible, right? I've had regular people do extraordinary things in real estate if they commit to their goals and hit the standards that we set for them.
Hey, Rich, I want to focus on those who are going to be working independently, right? No team. What can they expect during a transaction? How can they manage it? Do they need help? Do they not need help? Can they pull it off? Listen, I dig and I support those working on their own. Nothing against you, Rich. A team, I think, is great, but I think you can actually do it yourself too, right? I think, again, let's go back to the mindset. If you got the right mindset, I don't need a stinking team, with all due respect. I think you could do it, be powerful, be your own king of your castle, and go out and make some money. So if somebody decides to go that route.
Yeah. Look, you can absolutely succeed on your own.
What can they?
You have to do the things we've described here.
Right. So what can they expect? Say they open an escrow and like, oh damn, I don't have any support because I don't have a team.
Yeah.
How do they manage their escrow? How do they manage the title company? How do they manage, NHD? Can they do it alone?
Look, ultimately, at the end of the day, the reality is that you're managing a relatively large transaction, and there's 2 ways to look at it. One is the sheer number of people who are involved in the transaction can insulate you from some of your mistakes, right? I had a client once, a very wealthy client. We did a lot of investment transactions, and he didn't really read any of the paperwork. And I asked him about that, and he said, I got a title company, I got you, I got an escrow company, I got a lender, I got 4 people who are looking at this, and if they screw up, I'm going to come after them. I thought, okay, fair enough. It's a good point. So on the one hand, you're insulated from mistakes. On the other hand, I think the reality is that you need someone supporting you on your first several deals. Most brokerages have mentorship programs, and most brokerages will require that you stick with a mentor for 3 deals. I think that's light. I think that you should look to loop in a mentor, even giving them a portion of your fee for your first several deals till you're really comfortable. And if you're at a brokerage or a team even, there's plenty of bad teams out there. If you're at a team or a brokerage that's not giving you transactional support, you're going to be in trouble. Look, I think we put together an incredible program here. I really do. We spent a lot of time going over lots of things. We could probably do another 10 hours on random various things that happen once or twice in a career that you may need to know. But if one of my team members called me and said what to do here, I said, oh, we did that one time, right? I know what to do. Or you go to your broker or your mentor and do that too. So I think if you're new, prospecting solves all the problems, right? If you can generate enough deals, you'll solve the problem. You need to have someone helping you with those transactions, right? It's actually kind of crazy that how easy it is to get a license in California, or I think most states for real estate. But you need to have someone hand-holding you through those transactions because you don't want to screw up for your client, right?
Right.
You screw up, you might get sued, you might lose the deal, you're not getting any referrals, right? So why not just loop someone into your deal, have them help you with that deal, make sure you nail it, then you get a good review online, you get a referral, you get a repeat. My business 19 years in is 100% repeat and referral, right? It's been that way for like 10 years now. I haven't really hustled for new business because I did a good job for people. I had a mentor, Bill, he was great. He taught me a lot about real estate. I didn't screw up that many deals, and now I get repeats and referrals.
Right, and the whole idea is to avoid struggles, right? The whole idea is to avoid struggles. But let me make this clear point. I think the biggest struggle is at the beginning of your career, right? You get your license, like you said, it's not that it's not difficult to get your license. I mean, it can be challenging. But once you get it, the struggle is, now what do I do, right? How do I get my first deal? That's the struggle.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get it quickly enough that they quit.
Well, it took me 9 months to get my first deal.
9 months?
9 months.
So let's talk about that struggle.
Yeah.
So what do you do in between? What do you do when you get your license to that first deal? Because that's a struggle, man. A struggle, economically, financially, and then a struggle up here because it starts to mess with your mind. You start saying, can I really do this? Now, you and I both know that if you have the right mentality, you can. Because I did it, man. I had no business experience, right? So I did it coming from an education background. I was a school teacher. So when I got into it, I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Right? So the challenge is at the beginning. What did you do from when you got your license to your first deal at 9 months?
I mean, a lot of it was there wasn't training. I was, like I told you, I was at a big brokerage. I was at a premier office, and we had like 20 minutes a week of training. Most of my fellow new agents who would go to the training, most of those new agents were second career. So like a lot of like former lawyers and former, business people. I don't know, vague business people. And, so there wasn't like training for a guy who was 23 and just out of college and had never really like had a real job before. So, I didn't know what to do. There was days I'd sit at home and watch TV in the middle of the night. I just didn't know what to do. And then I had that conversation with the broker and talked about treating it like a real job. That was a big moment for me. I remember that 18 and a half years later. I started following mentors around, shadowing agents. I sat open houses every weekend. I started prospecting in a more orderly fashion. And I was so focused on succeeding that it never occurred to me that I wouldn't work out. And by the way, I still won Rookie of the Year for my office that year because I then got like 6 more sales the next 3 months. So it went, after that, it was sort of downhill, right? But it was a big struggle to succeed. But I attribute that to the fact that there was no training, and there wasn't even, the training that we got was all on process and practice, which is obviously crucial, right? I had to like wear a suit and tie to go to a high-rise building to have a lawyer work us through the purchase agreement for like 3 straight days. It was wonderful. I learned the purchase agreement inside and out. I could tell you like sections and numbers still. But they never spent one moment telling us, you have to talk to 20 people a day, you have to have 2 meetings a day, you have to pick up the phone, here's what you say, none of that. So, that's where I missed all that. If I had that, I would have, I would have been like 3 years further ahead of my career.
What was your motivation back then?
My motivation was to not get a real job.
Really?
Yeah.
You wanted to work for yourself?
I worked 1 summer in venture capital as an analyst, and I did not care for that. And so my motivation was, I was like, well, I don't really have it. There's no other option for me. Like there wasn't like a plan B, right?
Right.
Like I burned the ships, right? I'm landed on the beach. I burned the ships. This is gonna work.
Well, that's a hell of a mentality. You think those who are starting should have the same mentality? Is it possible?
Yeah, I think if you don't make a sale for 9 months, maybe at this point in time, I think you maybe need to reevaluate what you're doing because you have to make money. Now the way that we run our training program with our team members is that we expect them to make a sale within 2 months or so, and we're very successful at doing that. So if you have the training and access to leads and access to mentorship, making a sale in 2-3 months, at least opening a viable escrow in that time is very realistic and very doable.
Right. Now you started at 0 when you got your license. I'm assuming you started at 0. You became one of the top agents, not in the city, not in the county, not in the state, in the country.
Yeah.
Let me repeat that. You're one of the top agents in the country.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I know. Now, this is actually a pretty serious question. Because a lot of people watching this are going to want to say, what can you share with me that I can at least make a living doing this, right? Now, you created a blueprint, right? We have the blueprint. We have Richard Schulman's blueprint on what you've done the past several years. How many years you been doing this?
19.
19 years. You've got a blueprint that you're going to share that you've shared with us.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. What can they take away from this that they can say, damn, I got a shot at this career? Not that they want to be the best in the country, but that they can make a living.
Look, I don't think that the goal should be to survive or to just be okay or adequate at real estate. I think the goal should be to thrive. One, simply motivational. You have to be motivated, to wake up day in, day out, to look at failure day in, day out, to be rejected day in, day out. You can't do that if your motivation's to just merely be okay, right? Here in California at our high price points, our agents who sell 6 to 12, 15 homes are doing really well. You do 20 home sales a year here, you're making really good money. And maybe even our lower price point markets around the country, that's 10, 20, 30 homes, it's not a lot of homes to sell to be exceptional, right? Look at it a different way. It's not a lot of homes also to sell overall. Like if you're doing 20 home sales a year, that's not even 2 a month. So if your goal is to like be okay, how do you be okay and like be okay with only doing something well twice a month, once a month? It's very demoralizing. So your goal has to be to thrive. Your goal has to be to be invested in thriving. It's going to help you perform better for yourself and for your clients. Also, I think that the amount of effort that you put in, the risk taking, you deserve to earn a substantial income for that, whatever that number might be. The people on my team universally make more than they did in their prior careers. That's why they do it, right? They have a better quality of life generally because they're able to think and act for themselves, and they're able to, most importantly, get really good insight into the real estate market, which is still the easiest way to make money in, at least this country, probably the world, is to invest in the residential real estate market. It's still hands down the easiest way to profit in this country.
Now, all this information you're giving us, all this great input, can we apply this to, say, New York, Florida, Ohio, anywhere in the country?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, generally what we find the difference is that higher price point markets are going to be lower unit count, obviously. There's more competition from other agents, so you have to be sharper at your why should you hire me pitch. And you have to be okay with longer timelines. If you're working in a lower price point market, it's going to be more important that you're more regular in your approach with people and more organized because you're going to have to handle more transactions. I have a friend who used to be on my team here. He's moved to the Midwest and he's working at a much lower price point now, a third of what we're dealing with here. So he's literally selling 3 to 4 times as many homes to make the same money now. It's not a problem. His home sales are dramatically easier because they're faster. There's less agent competition, but he's got to be really organized. It's a big transition to be very organized to handle 30, 40 deals a year to make the kind of money he wants to make.
Hey, Richard, so you've been giving us a nice blueprint on how to get your career launched, right? How to take off running. Yeah. And we got this new program out there for those who are watching. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, well, so I've had this idea in my head for a long time. I've been running a team since 2009. And even though we have a fairly high success rate with agents, we still have a lot of agents come and go through the business. People move out of state, people leave real estate, people transition, whatever it is. We've had dozens and dozens of agents, and training is always just a very time-consuming, expensive thing. So in the back of my head, I've been writing this class in my head for a decade or more. And partnering with US Realty Training allowed me to really put this together because the resources that you guys have to create a real class was just incredible. But I've been writing this class in my head, and I wanted just to be able to give someone, here's what you need to know to solve 80% of your problems in real estate sales, right? Here's the blueprint, here's the plan. If you can learn and master this material, you can go out there and sell real estate at a high level, enough that you can get to year 2 and 3 where you can really fine tune the nuances. But I really wanted to have a product I could give to my new agents that would be, here's what you do. You have a question, it's in episode 3, right? You have a question, look at page 250 of the training manual, right? We've solved all these problems for you. Robert, we're listening to your phone calls and your conversion for appointments not good. Here's the marker of where you need to go back and relearn the material versus me doing it over and over again. And maybe I forget something, right? This was an exhaustive retelling of today you got your license and we're taking you through your whole career really, but it's the first year. Spend a year mastering this course, learning this material, going out and making mistakes, going back to the material and relearning it or re-editing what you're doing and becoming really successful. And so this course was made for me and my team, right? The fact that we're bringing it to everyone else is a great thing, but in my head, this is I want to take this course, and when I hire a new agent, say, you have to master this course, we're going to test you on the material, and if we notice that you're slipping in a certain area, we're going to have you relearn the material or re-edit what you're doing. So I've just finally got to put it all down. It's been floating around in the back of my head for a while. It's cleared up a lot of space in my head now because it's now in paper, on video, it's organized, and it's in exactly the way I wanted it. So I can give it to my new agents, and you can give it to your agents as well.
So what does this course consist of, man?
So it's an enormous amount of material, first of all. I'm not saying that to overwhelm you. I'm saying that because I want you to understand that it's everything, and it's a process to go through it. What does it cover? It's everything. You got your license. What do you do next? You're making phone calls. What do you say? Okay, you said the right thing, you got an appointment. What do you do at the appointment? We have live role playing where you and I are role playing buyer meetings, seller meetings. We're talking about how to write offers, how to write counter offers, how to write requests for repairs, how to handle objections from buyers, sellers, and other agents. How do I get to closing? Okay, yeah, you happen to close an escrow. Now what do? How do you follow up productively with that client indefinitely? So when that client wants to sell, that becomes a listing. I did a buyer deal. My first deal was a buyer deal. My third deal was that property was listed, right? What did I do right and wrong to make sure I got that? Which of those have I lost out on? It's really the idea that everything in here answers any question that you might have about what you need to do in the sales and production of your real estate goals. That you know what to do to make a sale, you know what to do to make an appointment, you know what to do to handle problems that come up. And if you apply the material with any degree of care and any level of effort, you're going to succeed in real estate.
Hey, Rich, for those who are watching right now and really want to kickstart their career, I mean, they want to just launch it, take off.
Yeah.
Give me one solid piece of advice that they can take with them.
Well, you've got to be training focused, right? Because if you happen to get in front of the right person at the right time and you don't know what to do, then you're not going to make a sale. And this is the big leagues, right? We're selling homes here, even in the lowest price markets across the country. We're talking about multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you don't know what you're doing, when you get that right moment, you're not going to succeed, or you won't succeed to the level that you could. So whatever you do, you have to be training focused. Whether it's this product or something else, you absolutely have to be a master of your craft, and you have to be constantly training. It's not just like I watched the video once and it seemed neat and I'll try to apply a couple things. I'm going to every day get better at what I do. Every day I'm trying to learn something new about real estate, about the economy, about homes, something related to my field, sales process, and I need to continue to get better every day. And if you have that mindset that every day I'm going to learn and improve and get a little bit better, it will help your career, it will help your client's outcome, which is the most important thing, and it will make everything about this better for you.
Hey, Richard, thanks for coming. I appreciate you sharing all your thoughts with the audience.
Yeah, you can call me Rich, by the way. That's fine.
Rich, thanks, man. I appreciate it.